Adamantarchs here. I want to show you something that works pretty well and with a design that I made myself. It's original to me, although I'm sure someone else has come up with it, and that's something called a vine timer. In this case, what the vine timer or vine clock does is it allows me to create what is essentially an automated wheat farm. I say essentially because there's only one element of the wheat farm that is not currently automated, and that is that you would have to occasionally give your farmer villagers, which you see below here, some seeds to keep planting. They hold up to 8 stacks of seeds in their invisible internal inventory for purposes of planting. Other than that, it runs on its own. There are ways to automate even that, but I don't really bother. The use of droppers, for example, could allow you to do that. Anyway, let's check this thing out and see what it's about. So you notice the wheat growing here. A few features. The glass does not allow the farmers to jump, which keeps the soil intact and keeps it tilled. If for whatever reason a villager did jump, which isn't a very common occurrence, but I like to play it safe. This also keeps players from dropping down there and jumping. If that happened, it would go back to being regular dirt and nothing would grow there until you went back and reworked it with the hoe, right? Anyway, this one's about ready for harvesting. If you look carefully, you can see through the glass, you can see those distributors, those, oh, why can't I think of what they're called? Dispensers, that's the word I'm looking for. Down below here is the bin where the wheat and the seed collect. Honestly, I do this probably more for seed than for wheat, although there are some really cool pure seed harvesters that can be built too, and I'll show you one of those in a later tutorial. So how does this thing harvest? Well, these dispensers are hooked up via a redstone signal. To this baby right here. And this is what I call a vine timer or a vine clock. I did not invent this with anyone else's input. I completely came up with it on my own. I wasn't even playing Minecraft when I came up with it. I was sitting around brainstorming about Minecraft and thinking about how I could set up this farm. And what I needed was a custom clock that went for a really long time. I didn't want to set a whole bunch of redstone repeaters. It would take a ton of those, right? I need something that would be about the same duration as it takes for the wheat to grow to full maturity. I haven't even timed it out, but I'm guessing you're looking at least 30-45 minutes for this to happen. That would take an enormous number of repeaters to make that kind of clock to cycle on intervals that are that long. So vines, right? Vines grow on their own, obviously, gradually, slowly, piece by piece. And observer blocks, and that's what we're looking at here, the little block that looks kind of like a Thomas the Train in the front, and the back has a redstone signal. What an observer does, as its name implies, is whenever it observes a block change to a square, in this case, the block change or block update, as it's called in Minecraft, would be that piece of vine growing down into this bottom block. The way I can tell that it would grow into this block here, even though it looks kind of like it's in the middle, is if you hover over the framework of that vine, you can tell that it grows out past that block. See that? maybe it's easier to see edge on. See that? Now you might wonder why I have torches here like this. Torches, I think, a torch is the easiest way to control where a vine goes, or rather where it does not go. I do not want this vine growing anywhere out to the side. I want it only going straight down. And those torches make that happen. It's not going to grow back in and try to stick to this wall because of these torches in the back. And that's why a good vine timer will have this sort of shape, this sort of 1, 2, 3, this triangular type formation, with the middle one being down the back and then 2 flanking it that are actually out front. Also, notice the red concrete block up there. I actually made that red concrete for contrast. And I'll explain that in a moment and how that works. So here's how this thing works. So the farmers replant the wheat after it harvests. We'll start at that point. The wheat grows. As the wheat grows, this vine grows down. Now imagine the vine is just starting at the top. There's nothing at that red block or below. There's only the one source vine block up there at the very top. Okay, that's going to grow straight down slowly but surely over time. By the time it gets to about where it is now, this wheat is fully matured and it's ready to go. I overdid the time on this a little bit. I could shorten this by raising the observer block up, and I may by a couple blocks. But I actually want it to be a little bit over because villagers can be, I think they can be a little bit stubborn sometimes in planting the seed like they should. So I like to give them that little bit of extra time. It's my preference. But although reading up on farms on Minecraft Wiki, apparently the consensus is that that having a farm at about 75-85% grown and harvesting it then overall is the best, most efficient way to generate wheat over an average of time, because it balances out the time that it takes with the output. Anyway, so this vine is growing down, right? Eventually, the wheat's going to be full-bodied wheat, kind of like you see now. It's going to be mature. This vine's going to be right here, and it's going to be ready to grow down into the final block, right? When it grows down into that final block, and I'll show you in a moment, all right, this observer will pick that up. And when the observer sees a change, it sends out a redstone signal right here. Okay. That redstone signal is going to go left and right, and it's going to do a few things. The first thing it's going to do, obviously, is it's going to go down here to each side, and it's going to power these sets of dispensers down here, right? They're going to release water, right, with water buckets. And that water is going to flood out, and it's going to push that wheat into the center where I have more water flowing downward. You could just put all hoppers there if you wanted, but I preferred to save hoppers and just be efficient, so I just put the hopper right down there in the very center. So they flow down together into that central hopper. Now, as we discussed before, that hopper connects to those chests down below, and that's where the stuff collects, right? The seed and the weed. And one more thing that occasionally collects, sometimes because of this extra flowing water here, I'll get a squid. And the squid suffocates, and I get ink sacs as well. Pretty cool. I like that feature of it. Although there are ways to make squid farms. We'll get into that later. I'll show you one that I made. So here it is. It looks like it's actually grown another step anyway. So it'll grow down, right? This will pop off. The signal goes down. It sends out the water. It harvests the wheat and the seed. Okay. But now we have a problem, right? Because now the block is updated. The vine is down here and it's stuck. How does it recycle? How does it start over? And that has to do with this third branch right here. When this signal gets sent out, it goes here and it hits a really long series of redstone delays. Now these are set to their maximum, right? So that's 0.1 seconds, 0.2 seconds, 0.3 seconds, 0.4 seconds, right? And so you add these, you've got over a second right here with these, right? And if you just keep it going around, so every 10 of these will be 4 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have an 8-second delay, right? 20 of these, 8 seconds. That was intentional. That's the time I wanted. Why did I put a delay on that? I put a delay on that because this water needs time to wash all of the maximum amount of seed and wheat into that hole, into that trench where it collects. So I don't want the water just to immediately turn off. I want it to sit there for a while and run. Okay. And once the signal gets delayed, it climbs all the way up right here. Keeps climbing. Keeps climbing. I can't keep climbing apparently. Yeah, let's smash that out for now so we can keep going. There we go. I don't normally use these for steps. Just doing that to show you. And it hits this piston. So about 8 seconds after the water pops out, this piston pops the hanging part of the vine. All that goes away, right? And all we have then is the source vine. That one stays because it's above. But everything on this block and everything hanging below with it is destroyed, right? And the cycle starts over. This has to grow again from the very top. And so it has its own self-repeating process. And this way I could make a timer that lasts about, 2 or 3 Minecraft days. So it gives the wheat time to grow. Maybe a little longer than that for this one, actually. So that signal comes up, that pops, okay? And so when that happens, when it hits that delay, 8 seconds later, okay, when that pops, this vine goes away. That is also a block update when a block disappears. When something disappears from a block area, right? So when that happens, guess what? Our observer gets another signal. It sends that impulse down, that repowers the dispensers, and when you repower a dispenser with a water bucket in it, and it's already sent the water out, the second pulse of power retracts the water, so the water goes back into the dispenser. And so the whole thing just starts over, and then we're back to square one. Right at this point, this vine's going to start growing down again from the start. Right, the farmers are going to, as that's beginning to happen, the villagers are going to replant the wheat, and once that happens, life will be good. The wheat will grow to maturity, and as that's happening, the vine will grow down. Hit the observed block area. It'll get observed. It'll send the impulse. The impulse will send the water out. This impulse will get delayed by 8 seconds. After 8 seconds, that piston will pop, which will cause the vine to go away, which will cause the second observation to occur, send out the secondary redstone signal. Now you might notice that, oh, well, wait a second. Another redstone signal will go this way. When it does, the piston will pop out again, but there'll be nothing there but empty space. So it won't be changing anything down here at the observer block. So that's how that works. That, my friends, it's a very simple thing to build when you think about it. Very simple concept, and you can customize any time limit. You can make a very short one. In fact, I'll show you one in a moment. I'll show you one that I made for shorter durations, because not everything takes as long to grow as wheat. Or you can make them even longer than this for whatever kind of timer you want to set. Now, I thought about using a daylight sensor, to do this, but unfortunately half a day cycle isn't long enough for the wheat to really grow to maturity. That was my first thought when I first started this automatic wheat farm build. And then I came up with this, which actually works much better. And I've probably been using these vine timers now for about a year now in game, just about since the observer block came out. And I'm really excited about it because it works really well and it's tried and true. The only thing about this particular build that you gotta keep up with. Okay, 3 gottas. You gotta make sure that you keep these guys, that you keep their inventory filled with wheat. Now, different people can build their wheat farms different ways. I mainly wanted to show you the vine timer, but this is a pretty good build. I put block here, stone brick, so I could drop down right here at these intervals. And if you watch an earlier video, I showed you how to build minecart elevators. And this minecart elevator, or a minecart exit, is a great way that you can get out of the farm without the villagers being able to get out. And then you just quick drop down on top of the stone. The other reason is because of the way that I ended up lighting this. The water here is what supplies the soil with hydration, obviously. Then I just put a piece of fence over that, and I put a torch on it, and that's how I light up the middle section. And because of that, this dispenser, its water flow doesn't make it all the way to the end, and that's fine with me. It's just 3 blocks there. And I might lose a little here. I don't really care. What matters is that this thing works over time. So I didn't even bother, and that's why that's the other reason this is stone, because nothing's going to really work from here anyway. And it gives me a place to do my quick drop, so it works out very well. And you can also stick a torch there, like that, as you can see that I'm doing here. Maybe that one got knocked out for some reason. But here's our villager. So every now and then, just occasionally, just got to drop down here. You just got to hand these guys a little bit of seed. See how that one got eaten up? I don't know why my mouse is not being friendly, so suddenly I'm looking up for some reason. Yeah, and usually, even after a few harvests, all you got to do is give them a couple stacks. And I think it's important to try to keep them close to full. Now, you could put dispensers up above and have those set on their own timers, or even run them off of the same vine timer that runs this. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't make it run off the same one, because there's no guarantee. Well, I guess there is sort of a guarantee that eventually that farmer will plant all of these and thus will cover all of this ground. But what you'd want to do is have some strategic locations where these things would drop some seed out to these guys. I might fully automate it. I think if I'm this close to full automation, I should go for it. But again, my main purpose in this video is to show you 90% automated and to show you this vine timer. Now I'll show you some things that are 100% automated here in a moment with the shorter vine timers. Alright, there's my dark oak farm. Some things that'll be coming up in a video. Here's something I just built. That's why it looks kind of rough. That is actually a spider grinder. It generates and grinds only spiders. So it's my string source in the game. We'll get to that one at a later time once I've polished it. Let's see. What I want to show you now is right here. Okay, this one just started over now. That would be quote unquote the red concrete block right there. I just made this one blend. That block is the one that gets pushed out. So once this grows down, this observer catches it. Notice it only grows a few blocks down before it gets caught. And it powers my bamboo collector and my cactus collector. These pistons pop out and pop the 2 layers of the cactus off, and they get washed down into the hoppers. This baby works kind of slow, to be honest. It doesn't, one harvest doesn't get a lot of bamboo, but it runs all the time when I'm at base. So who cares if it's slow? It's always running and always collecting for me. And at the same time, I also set up an automatic melon and pumpkin farm. And all these run off of this same vine timer. And it works great. I've used some of what is generated, but look at that. I have some bamboo, some sugarcane as it's called. Look at all that cactus and watermelon and pumpkin right now. Yeah, it's looking good, right? Eventually it'll just keep on filling up. That's why I put plenty of chests there so I don't have to worry about it. Note of things to come, that is my iron grinder, and at the same time it's my villager farm, and I'm going to show you how that works in an upcoming video. And yeah, let's eat some steak here and keep going. That's the gist of it. Let's see if it's about ready to pop. If it isn't, I can speed it up. Let's see. Oh, it's very close, right? We could cheat. Since I'm making a video, and the longer the video is, the more space it's taking up and the more of your time. So we could sit here and wait on this. Or I could even cut to another video and we could wait on it. But I would rather just pop a torch there just to show you. You can use your imagination and just imagine that this is that what I'm about to do is the vine just growing down into this spot, right? So the vine grows down, okay. That pops. You may or may not have heard the water go. Notice that delay is happening. When that pops again. And now the water turns off. Now, again, there are going to be a few pieces that didn't quite make it, especially where you have these water troughs. That's normal. It's just a few. And actually, if anything, that helps build in some of the automation, because these guys are going to pick up that extra seed. So that's part of why you don't have to give them all that much seed. It's actually a good thing. The problem starts to occur if they start to build up too much wheat in their inventory instead of seed. And occasionally you might have to replace a farmer. But yeah, that's part of the game. You got to have something to do, right? And there he goes, replanting the seed. He's actually doing, or she, is doing a really good job just planting straight down the line. That's a good worker. I don't pay them much. I only pay them in seed. It's not a very good living, but they're happy enough, so hey. All right, this one's doing more of a sectional type approach. It's interesting the patterns that they follow. Anyway, the AI is working fine, and yeah, and the whole process just starts over. There it is. And that, my friends, is a vine timer. Works great. What you're going to need for this build, you're going to need a building block of your choice. I just use cobblestone because it's easy and it's there, and we never run out of cobblestone. A piece of vine, although you might have a few extra pieces in case you mess up. You don't have to have a red concrete block. You can use whatever you want there. You could even just use regular cobble, but I like to make that block stand out. And you're going to need about 25 redstone repeaters, and a sticky piston. Okay, that's a piston with slime on the end of it so that it not only sends the block out that it's attached to, but it retracts it as well. That's what a sticky piston does. And then maybe about a stack and a half of redstone. That's not hard to find, obviously. And an observer block. And an ass ton of torches. And if you have those things, actually less than a stack of torches really, and if you have those things, you're set. You're ready to rock. Aside from the things that you put into the farm itself, that's how you build a vine timer. And obviously a smaller vine timer like the other one I showed you is much less involved. Alright, well, I hope that this build is helpful to you. I hope you're able to use it in cool ways. If you use it in ways that you didn't see me using it here, I'd love to know the ways that other ways that it can be used in other applications. In the meantime, you take care and you keep having yourself some happy Minecrafting. This is Adam Antarks, and I'm out.